we've got a modest amount of time. I've got 30 minutes to share some marketing gems with you, and I'm assuming you, like me, have a modest marketing budget. So those marketing gems are intended to be absolutely actionable. If not next week or next month, maybe tomorrow. This is a practical marketing session. I just want to draw your attention to something Mark wrote in his chairman's welcome. He said, "Never before have we been so ready to grow the sport. Never before have we had coordinated programs for both the BIA and Yachting Australia ready to pick up on the Olympic buzz." And I want to add to that welcome by saying, and never before, and I know this for a fact, has there ever been a better time to market a small business than right now. So there was some pretty kind of, there was some okay news up there. It's been a tough time, obviously, but what I can tell you is that the news around marketing and how you get your message out there and how you go from being a business to a brand, no matter how small you are. I have a one-man business, a one-man marketing consulting business, but there's just never been a better time to market a small business. So what I want to do is spend half an hour kind of convincing you of that and giving you some ideas and practical examples of that. And then I've got 10 or 15 minutes where you can shoot some questions back at me and we can make it even more practical. So I want you to imagine just for a minute being a thought leader in your industry niche. Just being the go-to person in your industry niche, whether that be geographically you define that, nationally, however you want to define it. I want you to imagine punching so far above your marketing weight that you're starting to compete against companies that have far, far deeper marketing pockets than you do, or ever will. I'll get specific. I want you to imagine speaking to a client or a customer, answering a question and then saying, "Hey, listen, do you mind if I send you a video that I've produced that explains that in much greater detail? And feel free to share it with your friends and family." Imagine writing an article that appears on page 1 of Google for a keyword search. Imagine having a phone call from a prospect saying, "Hey, listen, I heard what you had to say on that show the other night and I really loved it. You clearly know what you're talking about in your industry and I'd like to catch up for a coffee and find out how we can do business." And that show was your show, right? Now, this is all possible, right? It happens to me on a regular basis in my business, and I'll show you how I do that. 5 years ago, it might have been fantasy land, and you could have said, "You know what, Timbo, I think you probably should be speaking to bigger brands and bigger businesses." But that was 5 years ago, and the marketing world has changed so significantly in that time that all those things I spoke about are now available to us. You see, here's the thing. As small business owners, we are all standing on a mountain of knowledge. We know a lot about the industry in which we operate. Okay, is that fair? We are standing on a mountain of knowledge, so it's incumbent upon us to share it, right? And in sharing it, we will pull people towards us who want to do business with us. So acknowledge that. I think, hopefully you're going, yeah, that's me. I'm standing on a mountain of knowledge. I've got to share it. The opposite of what I'm talking about today is stuff like advertising and direct marketing and having stands at expos, that kind of what I call the push marketing. There's an absolute role for it, right? But the way the world has changed and some of the marketing opportunities that are available to us today mean that we don't always just have to push. We can engage and bring people towards us by sharing our knowledge. So to give you an example of what I do and some of the stuff that we'll talk about, that looks a bit stretched, doesn't it? But suffice to say, one of the ways I market my business is through a podcast. And who listens to a podcast out of interest? Cool, that's pretty good. I'd say about 30% of the room. Podcast is an online radio show. So every week I turn my microphone on and I interview someone and I express an opinion about some aspect of small business marketing. And it lives on a website called Small Business Marketing. There's a play button, you can play it, and away you go. You can hear me interview someone. And that's a marketing channel for my business. I've been doing it for 3 years now. And as a result of creating content, of sharing my knowledge, it's put me on the iTunes store, the Apple iTunes store, as the #1 marketing show in the country. Punching above my marketing weight, because I don't have much of a marketing budget, right? But it's got me sitting above Harvard Business School and Australian Stock Exchange and Apple. right? So that's pretty good. And as a result, but see, I'm not in the business of just creating content. I create content in order to drive people into my business in order to do business. So as a result of creating a show and ranking number one of the other commercial outcomes, the commercial reality, is that if you search small business marketing, which is a key search term that I want to be found for on Google, and you are who Google says you are, by the way. We'll talk about that in a minute. I rank number one. These guys are paid to be there, and I'm ranking number one. So I got this speaking gig just last week where I went around the country for an insurance company, an insurance brand, and I spoke at 9 different events around Australia. And when I said to the lady who booked me, I said, how come, why'd you book me? Because I'm not with a speaking bureau or a booking agent or anything. She said, every time I did the search small business marketing or small business marketing speaker, you came up number one. And so should you. Not for small business marketing, I want to do that. But you know, understand what people are searching for when it comes to your business on Google. Just ask them, you know, just ask your customers and prospect, hey, if you were looking for someone like me, what would you key into Google? And start to own it. And we'll touch on how to own it. I've got half an hour. I'd love to give you the whole silver bullet, but we'll get there. So as a result of creating the content, ranking number one on iTunes, happy days. Commercial reality has it that I now rank well on Google, which is really important. But here's the other really, really important commercial outcome of doing good marketing, right? And that is inquiry. We want inquiry. We want people to ring us, email us, walk into our shop, right? That's the idea. And that's what this content marketing, which is what I'm talking about today in general, does. It generates inquiry because people are searching online. This is not an entire online discussion, but they are searching online and you are who Google says you are. The other thing it does for my business, I find, and for other businesses that follow this path, is that, see, it makes the sale easier, and I hate selling. I love marketing, but I hate selling, right? So when someone does approach me with an email or a phone call, often it will start, hey Timbo, I feel as though I know you. And that's a good thing, because then I go, wow, okay, so it's not a cold call, and they've approached me, and clearly they're kind of halfway down or further down this decision-making process than, you know, if it was a cold call and I was having to get on the blower and ramp up the business, etc. So it generates inquiry. Now, at this point in time, I hope you're kind of with me, you're going, what's he talking about? What are the specifics of this? We'll get to it. But all I ask is for the next 25 minutes, let's lose any scepticism about the new world of marketing. Marketing's such an overused term anyway, I'll define it in a minute. And let's just see that, let's make a pact within the room that what we see here is opportunity is now here, right? Not opportunity is nowhere, all right? You got it, well done. Straight to the front of the room. Oh, you are. Okay, because, you know, what I do see is a lot of small businesses kind of falling back on what I would call the lazy side of marketing. And having worked in advertising for many years, having been the marketing manager at Flight Centre, you know, I've seen lots of dough wasted on running ads or doing letterbox drops or sponsoring stuff. Still a role for it, but there is this new world of marketing out there, and you've got to open your mind to it. You've got to lose some of the limiting beliefs that we all have had at some point in time, which is, it's not for my business. And I'll show you a photo shortly, which proves it kind of is for your business. So opportunity is now here. Let's define marketing. Marketing is what you do when you can't go see someone, right? That's kind of my simple, basic, everyday definition of marketing, because it is an overused term, but here's the thing, marketing is just one of those things. If we could, in an ideal world, what we would do is we'd all head out and get a meeting or a coffee with every single potential person who could buy from us, and we'd sit down and we'd go, how are you, what are you doing, how's business, and we'd have that conversation, and at some point in time hope to get to a sale. That's logistically unreasonable. So marketing is what you do when you can't go see someone. And so what you want to do in regards to that is make all your marketing, all your messaging really personal. Okay, so starting to sort of give some tips. What I hope is there's one tip for everyone in this room, okay? But, you know, all good marketing, when you write marketing, when you do your marketing, pretend you're writing to someone in particular. One of the things we all miss out on, or often we forget as small businesses who are creating marketing, is the message part of marketing. Okay, we quickly go to, I've got to get a website, or I've got to be on Twitter, or I've got to do an ad, or I've got to sponsor something. Whereas what you should do is you should come back here and say, hang on, what is it that I'm going to say, right? Get your message right first before you worry about where to put it. It's like marketing 101, and many businesses forget about that. In regards to message, I had the opportunity to interview Martin Daly, who at the time was the head of people, HR, at Virgin Blue. And he made a wonderful statement. He said, people can copy what we do, but not who we are, right? So you need to create your messaging in a way that sets you apart from everyone else. And this is a guy who's in charge of bringing an airline to Australia. So you'd think the barriers to entry are pretty high and that you couldn't copy what they do. But he was convinced that there will be another airline. Sure enough, Jetstar came along. So once again, as small business owners, forget the fact that, you know, there's plenty of me and there's plenty of you. Okay, that's the fact. You know, and there's going to be another competitor open up tomorrow. So that you accept that and you focus on creating a brand, and you focus on creating more on who you are and not what you do, okay? It's the emotional stuff. See, brand building is what the big guys do, and the little guys, but all brand building is building an emotional attachment between you and your prospect, your best mates as I call them. My best mate's called Dazza, right? And I encourage you to know who your Dazza is. Now, the power of knowing Dazza in your message creation is really simple. Dazza's my perfect client, right? Dazza, when he calls me, and he's a real guy, he exists. When Darren calls me, he gets the best out of me. And when I work with him, I get the best out of him. And there's just this wonderful relationship that it's been going for years and years, and it just works well. So when I'm creating marketing materials for my business, whether it be writing a new web page or preparing a presentation or writing a sales letter or putting a video together, whatever it is, I create it with Dazza in mind. Remember I said marketing's what you do when you can't go and see someone? So I just have Dazza in mind so that it's just a really personal, it's almost like every time I'm creating marketing, it's like I'm writing a letter to Dazza. And I encourage you to do that too, because it just makes for a more personal experience. I've said this earlier, and it's so important. You are who Google says you are. And it almost goes, there's almost like a graph that says the higher the purchase decision, the more likely someone is to check you out on Google before making a decision. And I guess personalise it in your own lives as consumers. How often do you get online and check stuff out, research stuff, price stuff? You know, it just seems to be happening more and more and more. And yeah, like Google being Yahoo, but Google is the biggest game in town at the moment for online search. So it's just worth really honouring that. You want to, in order to get to page 1 of Google, first understand what keywords people are searching for. So when they're looking for boat accessories, you know, they might be keying in boat accessories and a suburb. So therefore you create content around boat accessories suburb names. So for example, you know, you might have a blog on your website, which would be a good thing to do, because Google like fresh content, and you might have a blog talking about how you can buy boat accessories in a certain website, and Google will index that and push you up further up the page when someone does a search on that term. See, all Google want, here's how Google works, it's quite complicated and none of us really know. Suffice to say that they want fresh, regular content that is unique, placed on your website, right? Fresh, regular, unique content. And that content can be video, audio, words, pictures. But see, when Google don't see a website being updated, they kind of start to ignore it, okay? Many of us, I'm sure, will have a website. I'm guessing a number of us in the room as well may have a website that hasn't been updated since the first time we pushed the Go Live button 4, 5, 6 years ago, okay? Google regard that website as a bit of a smelly pond, right? Stagnant water. And we don't go near stagnant water. And Google look at the same. Look at the website as being the same. The more you update your website, the more Google come in behind it, index it, and reward you with bumping you up onto page 1 for key search terms. Now, remember I said opportunity is now here. Your customers are online. Get over it was a blog post I wrote just recently. I was sitting opposite this lady in an airport lounge about a month ago, and she's on this smartphone and she's really engaged with it, and I quietly sneaked round behind her to see what she was looking at. She was on Facebook, right? So my view is that if you don't think your customers are online, I reckon they are, okay? I think the days of, you know, oh, we deal in an older demographic, or we deal in a particular whatever type of person, everyone is online in some way, shape or form. You know, we've all got smartphones, many of us have got iPads. You know, amazingly, many of us are searching now on these smaller screens, you know. And what's really interesting about the small screen experience for searching and buying things online is that we tend to lean into it, right? Think about leaning into it. You know, think about TV advertisers at the moment where, what do you do when the ad comes on? You pull out the iPad and you go and check eBay, or you go and check something, or you check your email. We lean into it. When we lean into things, we're much more engaged. So we kind of lean back to watch TV and go to sleep. We lean forward when we're engaged, when we're in buying mode, when we're in a research mode. So people, we are online. I think it's just a really good thing to get out of your head that your customers are no longer online. I know you're going to be spoken to this afternoon about social media. So I'm not going to spend too much time on social media, except to say that it's a topic on many small businesses' minds, I find. You know, should I be on Twitter? Should I be on Facebook? Etc, etc. Look, here's the thing. Even if you decide not to, at least use it as the cheapest research you could ever do. And I've coined the phrase marketing voyeurism, right? It's our opportunity as small business owners to listen to our prospects and our customers in their natural environment. That's a pretty good thing, you know. Social media, it's just people having conversations online. So don't get lost in the technicalities of hashtags and retweets and likes and this and that. Don't worry about the language that's been created. Worry about the fact that, hey, now there is an opportunity to get onto Twitter, to get onto Facebook, without having an account and going to the search bar and keying in, you know, boat accessories, or I want to buy a boat, or key in phrases that are relevant to your business and see what people are saying. You know, just at the very least, see what they're saying. See how they're saying it. Do they say it in an excited way, in a fearful way, in an annoyed way? Get a sense of how your prospects are talking about your business, your industry, brands that you sell, and join that. And at some point, so that's a good thing to do, then at some point you may decide to join the conversation, which means open up the Twitter account, or open up the Facebook account, or open up the YouTube account. But I'm not one of the marketing guys who says, you know, you all should be on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it may be. But use it. It's the cheapest research you'll ever do. So another mindset that I think is very, very valuable, and I touched on this at the start, is just this whole concept of pulling people towards you and not pushing them away. Once again, personalise it as a consumer, yeah? First and foremost, we're humans, then we're consumers, you know, dads, mothers, sons, daughters, all that stuff, consumers. At some point, we're business owners, you know, at some point, marketers. But just personalise this as consumers and think about how you like to be sold to or don't like to be sold to. One of the things about the old way of marketing, if you like, the traditional ways of marketing, advertising, direct marketing, is they just tend, because they're limited by space and by time, they tend to just kind of get straight to the action. You know, they forget the foreplay of engaging people and having that discussion. The new world of marketing, which is this notion of content creation, allows us to be opinion leaders, allows us to be thought leaders in our industry. So we don't have to go straight to say, look, buy from me, buy from me. We can actually spend some time sharing that mountain of knowledge that we're standing on, right? That way we can let people over time, and it's not as quick. You know, like if you run an ad in the local paper today, you might get the phone ringing tomorrow, or you might have someone walk into the shop tomorrow, okay? But as soon as that local paper's date is up, it becomes chip wrapper, and that's over. What I love about content marketing and about sharing your knowledge over a long period of time is it's sustained and it slowly builds, you know? And you do have to be patient, but hey, it's not as expensive as the other options, okay? So content marketing positions you as a thought leader. So let's have a look at there's lots of ways of sharing that mountain of knowledge that we're all standing on. And I'm going to go into detail on some of these, except I just want you to get a sense of what I'm talking about. How could you share that knowledge that you have with your prospects and with your customers? So there's lots of ways. Video, blogs, you might not even heard of some of these. Suffice to say, you know, there's actually a website called the contentmarketinginstitute.com. And they have a free ebook that goes into detail on the top 42 ways of sharing your knowledge. So that would be a good resource if any of this is of interest. Suffice to say that it's about creating videos, blogs, forums, iPhone apps. Zach this afternoon's talking about mobile apps. That's content. That's sharing your knowledge. Press releases, surveys, mastermind groups, magazines, custom social networks, online training. A book, you know, like book is the original content. The book was the original way of saying, hey, I know a fair bit about this stuff. I'm going to put it into words and write a book. And that's really powerful. You know, like a book is a glorified business card. I was speaking with a fellow, we were speaking at the same event last week, and this fellow, I said, well, have you got a business card? And he said, no, but I've got a book. And that's powerful, you know. So that's a great example of content marketing is a book. But and the other thing too, so limiting belief is like, wow, book. Imagine writing a book. How do I get a book published? How do I get it printed? How do I get it designed? All that stuff is here now for the small business owner. There's a website called lulu.com, L-U-L-U, that shows you how to publish a book. All you have to do is write it. They do the rest. So, and that happens a lot. A lot of these things, if we were to go into detail of a lot of these things, some of which you'll have never heard of, there'll be a stepped, cheap, easy, pain-free process to get you there. It's quite amazing. Let's talk about some aspects of content marketing in greater detail. Video marketing. So Google own YouTube, right? So Google like video. Google like video. And Google rank video very highly when people do a search. If there is a video that answers a search request, Google will generally put that on page 1 of search results. And here's the thing. 5 years ago, if I said, hey everyone, go out and start video marketing, you could have laughed me out of the room. However, you know, we've all got the camera. There's your video camera, yeah? It's simple. It's got a fantastic video camera. That's all you need. Apple Macs, and I've coined this phrase Maceting, because I think with a Mac, even if you're on PC, buy a Mac and put it in the corner, and that can be your Maceting computer, your Maceting studio. But it comes with a free piece of software called Photo Booth that allows you to create videos really easily. If you don't want to stare down the barrel of a camera when you are presenting, when you are creating video, then you can get some wonderful software called ScreenFlow for Macs, or it's called Camtasia if you're on the dark side of PC. But, and what that allows you to do is record what's happening on your screen, records what you're saying, and then turns that into video. So it's called screen capture video. Suffice to say that, well, you know, and then what you do need is a geek. And I'll show you where to find a geek later, because, you know, geeks aren't that expensive anymore, and you just need someone, because you're not in the business of editing or uploading particular files or doing that. So you need the geek. However, what would you do videos on? Small business owners, what would we do videos on? You should have a video business card. If you were in the services business, then I'd encourage you to have a video business card. I've got Dave here today who's following me around. He's updating my video business card. And I get a lot of work from just having a 2-minute video business card, so that when someone rings me and asks about my services, I send them a 2-minute video showing me in action, having me talk to camera, having some testimonials of people talking about the services that I've provided them successfully in the past. 2-minute video business card, best 2 minutes you'll ever do on video. You could do a store tour. You should have testimonials. Capture, when people thank you for a job well done, ask if you could capture it on video and send a crew around. You should answer every frequently asked question that you get from a customer or prospect. Have a think about it. It's a good worthwhile capturing those. What are those 10 to 20 frequently asked questions you get asked from customers? And do a video for each one, answering each one. So then when someone else asks you, you can answer it, but then say, hey, can I send you a video where I go into greater detail? This is not complicated stuff. I know it sounds like when I'm going through this fast, it's like there's still probably a whole lot of unanswered questions. You could do a store tour. You could introduce each staff member on video and put it on your website. You could review every brand, every product, every service that you sell. Have an individual video for each one of those and paste it onto your website. Have it on a YouTube channel. That's free, you know. So it's not... And one of the great things about video, it's the richest form of content. And what I mean by that is from video, you can take the audio, so then you've got an MP3 and you can share that around. You can get it transcribed and turn it into a report. So all of a sudden, you're respecting the way people consume information. Some people like to watch, some people like to listen, some people like to read. Podcasting is another way of sharing the knowledge that you're all sitting on. And all podcasting is an online radio program. And all you need for that is an iPhone or a smartphone, but I'll go with the Mac side of things. A 99-cent app called iTalk that allows you to hit a big red button, start talking, and then upload it to YouTube or email it off to your transcriber or to your geek. A microphone, $200. I use a $200 microphone for my show. Now remember, like I've got the #1 marketing show in Australia. It's downloaded in 94 countries around the world with an audience in the thousands, right? But I do it from my home office with that microphone. And this $20 piece of software, and this free piece of software, and this geek, right? Not him, but like him like him. And he costs $40 an episode, right? So, yeah, there's some hurdles to get over. Yeah, there's some technical stuff that I can't explain right now. Suffice to say that you'll be amazed at how easy it can be to put all this together. And once you break through those technical hurdles, once you get your mic and figure out how it works, and once you know Skype and Skype call recorder, and once you've found your geek, you slip into this slipstream of content creation where you just worry about sharing the knowledge and the geek worries about putting it together. So we've gone video, we've gone audio with podcasting, and then another way of sharing your content is just writing. Imagine that, wacky stuff, a pen and paper, or a keyboard and a screen. But you know, blogging, if you've got a website for your business, have your web developer add a blog to it. And all a blog is like an online diary, you know, and it's an opportunity for you to literally log in and write an article, an opinion, express an opinion, review something, interview someone, and paste it to your website. A blog can include words, video, audio, pictures, and it's really easy to do, and it's the easiest way to update your website. And Google will love you for it, right? And it's allowing you to express that mountain of knowledge that you're standing on, okay? If that sounds too hard, write articles for other people's websites who share the same customers as you do. So you might be able to do joint ventures with businesses that share the attention, the eyeballs of your prospects and say, hey, I notice you've got a blog on your website. Do you mind if I do a guest article and express an opinion about something that I know your audience will be interested in? And then it links back to your website and it's happy days. Okay, give you some specific examples of businesses that are going both down this path of content creation but are also following this last small business marketing principle which I want to share with you, and that is challenging the category in which you operate. And I think we can all become a bit relaxed, a bit kind of just a bit used to the way we do business. You know, what's that saying? If you think what you've always thought, you'll do what you've always done. And if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. Okay? So it doesn't give you that opportunity to break free. So one of the great questions to ask is, how does the category currently go about doing business? How does your industry currently go about promoting itself, marketing itself, employing people, recruiting people? You know, all those different questions. Even just choose one. Just choose marketing and talk about how do we price, how do we package, how do we promote, how do we distribute, do all that, how do we price? And look at the conventions of your category and then flip them 180 degrees and see what the opposite of each of those conventions are. And if some of those opposites look quite interesting, then ask yourself, how could I take that to market in order to build my business? So for example, when Virgin Blue came to town, they challenged the airline category big time. They said, okay, how does Ansett and Qantas go about doing business currently? What are the conventions of that industry? Well, safe planes, well, we'll keep that. That's a good convention, we won't change that. But free food, you know, free food was a convention of the airline industry back then. So they challenged that and said, why don't we get customers paying for food? Which, you know, back then that was unheard of. You know, part of flying was getting that free feed. So then you go, we're going to get people to pay for food. What's that going to do? That's going to reduce airfares. We could have, and how could we take that to market? We could have a trolley going up and down the aisle and an FPOS machine and a menu in the seat pocket. And so they challenged a convention of the category, and it proved to be a good thing to challenge. So I encourage you to ask that question. How is your business currently going about marketing itself, for example, and how can you do it differently? I have the pleasure on my show of interviewing a successful small business owner every week from around the world. And the way they get onto my show is that I do two things. One is go, who would I love to speak to? You know, who would I love to interview and ask questions of? Because, you know, one of the reasons I started the podcast originally was because, you know, sometimes getting through the Dobermans and getting to that right person was really hard. Because I think Tim's got something to sell, you know, or whatever they're thinking. But if you say, hey, I'd like to interview such and such, it's a hell of a lot easier. So that was number one. And number two, it was just a great way of just challenging the category, because no one in my category was creating content in the form of a podcast. Now, here's some people. The next few slides are going to show you some different small businesses that are doing great marketing on a shoestring, mostly on a shoestring. I haven't interviewed this guy yet. His name's Tom. But if you want to see, you know, you would think selling blenders would be really, really difficult. It'd be like, how can you make blenders interesting? You know, like these things that mash up your milkshake and stuff. So he's from a company. He's the CEO of a company called Blend Tech in America, right? And they've got this website called willitblend.com. And every week, Tom walks into this funny kitchen with his lab coat on and his glasses, and he looks all important. He's pretty funny. And he blends something. He's about to blend an iPad here, right? But he blends, you know, anything. It's just, will it blend? And then he pushes the button and we all just sit back and go, and you know, like this guy, he's getting like 2-3 million hits within 24 hours on YouTube. It's funny, it's viral, it's engaging, and it's really smart marketing. It's really smart marketing. I'm actually interviewing him next week, so I'm quite excited about that. But that's just a great example of challenging the category, because, you know, like blenders, who would have thought? And yes, an iPad does blend, believe it or not. It finishes with a pile of dust. Incredible. So I have interviewed Lloyd Perry. Hey? Big Richard Condoms. Who would have thought? You know what? Lloyd had this idea. He registered the name Big Richard years ago, and he got finally he wanted to turn it into a clothing label. So he's sitting in front of this panel of venture capitalists. Are you coming on to push me away? Are we nearly finished?
Yeah, you got it.
You were? All right. So he goes, venture capitalists go, we're not going to give you money for Big Richard clothing, but if you start Big Richard condoms, you can have as much as you like. So Lloyd he challenges the category. He breaks with convention. He's got a condom delivery van that goes around Sydney delivering condoms. He sells his condoms via a pricing model, S-commerce. S-commerce meaning subscription commerce. So he's challenging it that way. He's got like the couples pack, the shag pack, the Superman pack. He packages up these monthly condom deliveries. So like, who would have thought? This is a mate of mine, Dave Curry, who started an app called Haircaster. All right? Haircaster is a very benign mobile phone app. If you're in America, you open it up. It's at 99 cents. You open it up. You key in your zip code. It tells you, it goes to the Bureau of Meteorology, and it comes back and it tells you what the weather's doing outside your front door and how it's going to affect your hair that day. Right? Hey? We laugh. But he sold 300,000 of them within 12 months at 99 cents. And what he did, the way he promoted it, it cost him $8,000 to make, and he spent $1,000 on Facebook ads, which take 2, maybe 3 minutes to set up, where he targeted 18 to 35-year-old women who work in the media in New York. And he had his ad for Haircaster appear on their Facebooks, and the rest was history. He got articles in Vogue magazine, Cosmo, Clio, all that. You would have seen this guy, Kim Illman. He's from Messages on Hold. I interviewed him. He challenges his category by getting millions and millions of free publicity by holding up his logo at key sporting events. You see him behind the goals at the footy and at Melbourne Cup. He even got a banner in the 200-metre final of Kathy Freeman's Olympic race. So that's ambush marketing. These guys from Vino Mofo, I love what these guys are doing. They got sick of the category being up its own arse, as Andre said. The wine category. You know, everyone's talking about fruity blackcurrant overtones and undertones and all this. And he said, stuff this, we just want to drink wine. So he starts this forum called Quaff. Quaff doesn't make any money, but it has a whole lot of people talking about wine. And then he goes, how do we make money out of this? He says, well, we'll start this brand called Vino Mofo. Naughty name. But within 12 months, catch of the day, you know, those group buying sites, they give Andre millions of dollars and buy it because it's a brand that delivers. It's so true to its message. If you go to Vino Mofo, have a look at the way it talks to its prospects. It knows its Dazza so well. Last one, if you're wondering how all this can be done in a kind of cost-effective, doesn't take forever type of way, there is a concept called the virtual marketing team. And once again, there's never been a better time to market a small business because we now have access to marketing specialists from around the world. So my virtual marketing team has people like Jackie who write articles for $9. I've got a designer in Serbia who designs stuff for $10 an hour for me, audio editors for $40, transcribers for $20, etc., etc., etc. And once again, you go to websites like this, Elance, Fiverr's fun. If you do one thing at the end of this, go to fiverr.com. It's where people from around the world do stuff for $5. And you go, well, that'd be a waste of time because they wouldn't know what they were doing. But you'd be surprised. I've found some good people. I've also found some pretty average people on Fiverr. 99 designs, you can get logos and everything designed cheaply. Brochures, logos, t-shirts, merchandise. 99 copywriters is where you find copywriters. Surround yourself with a virtual marketing team. You don't have to put them on your payroll, but you should have someone you can call on to get a video done like Dave, someone to call on to get something written, something designed. And don't limit yourself to how it used to be 5 years ago because opportunity is everywhere. DeepDiveMastermind.com if you want to continue the discussion with me is a mastermind group that I'm actually starting tomorrow where we have discussions like this. And remember, opportunity is now here, and I hope I've just kind of broken through just a little bit and shown you the brave new world of marketing. Thank you.
Well, Tim definitely had us all captivated there. Thank you very much. Has anyone got any immediate questions for Tim before they go and follow him up elsewhere?
Tim, what is Mastermind?
Oh, yeah, thank you for asking. Did I tell you to ask that? Mastermind is every Tuesday, starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll be hosting a webinar, which is a webinar is basically you dial into a phone number, you hear me speak, you see my screen, and there'll be other small business owners sitting around what I call the virtual boardroom table, and each one gets to ask a marketing question of me and give an update on their business, and it goes for the next 12 months. And it's a it's basically a weekly webinar where you get to ask questions of me and continue this type of discussion. And it's $400 a month.
Anyone else?
You've given a lot of great SEO tips today, and that's for, say, one shop versus another shop. And the one that takes on your tips will rank higher, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But how would you suggest having a couple of yous, say, living somewhere in Elwood? Basically, they're looking for, I'm trying to describe something, you're looking for something to do, and they may be looking at surfing or fishing or whatever. How would you capture them to approach the local yacht club, e.g. Elwood Yacht Club? You know where I'm going with this question. To grab the youth and get them to be made aware of the yacht club and then become enthused enough to go there.
Young people in
what
Elwood...
What sort of keywords would you be using to grab them?
Oh, wow. Wow.
Apart from excitement.
Yeah, that's
One of the things I think you might be running short on there is there's a gap, which is...
That's right.
They don't know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So search engines are really good for people who are looking for something. So our job, which is what we're going to be talking about in the next session, is how do you tell people what they should be looking for, and then they'll go to the search engine and they'll type in, I went and did a couple of little tests while you were talking, Discover Sailing, Hobart. Round of applause to the Royal Yacht Club of Hobart. They win that. Can't big round of applause to them.
Can I just add to that? Just first of all, go and find the young people in Elwood and ask them how they're finding, you know, like forget all the fancy stuff. I think sometimes we often forget to just ask. When someone rings with a new inquiry, just take that time to say, listen, do you mind just, if I ask, you know, first of all, listen to what they're asking, because that's really kind of, that's telling. And secondly, yeah, where'd you find out about me, and kind of what's your interest? And just engage them with that. And that's a good platform for them to create content that will kind of engage them.
Tim, let's do, because early in the day we had John Bertrand ask a question which puzzled me during lunch, and I was talking to some people, which was, how do we retain the younger people who have they've been through college and then they leave? So I began to think about that, and I thought, how many people in this room are under 30? Okay, so we've got somewhere around about 10-20%. How many are under 25? Okay.
You're 25, obviously.
So on the weekend there was the Stereosonics Festival in Melbourne. You probably went, Sam, I'd imagine. No?
He's still there.
So Stereosonics pulled in just on 60,000 people. The week before they pulled in 50,000 people into Sydney. Stereosonics is owned and run by people who are my age bracket. But it's executed by people who are the audience's age bracket. So if we don't have a lot of 25 to 30-year-old people here, and they're talking about how to activate sailing, and know the answer to that very question of, you know, what do people in Elwood want to do, we can't expect to know the answer there. So the reason that we're really good marketing to people who are older is because most of the people who are doing the marketing are older. So we want to work out how to go and actually market to kids, but a lot of those older people also have kids, so they get the headspace. We need to get the people with the headspace for that category who can connect that answer exactly as Tim was saying.
And if you're employing young people, the youth of today, give them some of the responsibility of doing some of the social media. If you know, like if you do like the idea of marketing voyeurism, or maybe Twitter's for you or Facebook, give them, it's like a promotion. I say to clients, you know, like give them the opportunity to run your Facebook or to be responsible for the video marketing. And to them it's a promotion. You know, that's a real responsibility they've taken on, sits well on their CV, and it's a good thing to do. You don't have to do it all yourself.
And they're also using the same language as well.
Same language, yeah.
So Tim, thank you very much.
Thanks,
We're going to go into afternoon tea now. We're going to be back here in 10 minutes' time, which will take us up there to about 10 to 3. But how about we give Tim a big round of applause before we break?